She has enough money, she won't even notice, my daughter-in-law said, snatching my credit card without asking permission. She ran to the mall laughing, but when she tried to pay for those luxury handbags, the cashier looked at the screen and said in a serious voice, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this card was reported stolen by its owner. Let me tell you what happened that day at the boutique in Lenox Square Mall, the day my daughter-in-law discovered I wasn't the naive old woman she thought I was. But before we get to that moment, you need to understand how a woman like me, Marilyn Hayes, owner of 5 thriving dry cleaning businesses in Atlanta, ended up being robbed by her own family. And they didn't just rob me of money, they stole something worse. My dignity, my home, my peace. If anyone has ever made you feel invisible in your own life, if someone you love has betrayed you while smiling to your face, then this story is for you. Stay until the end, because what I did next, nobody saw coming. And if this story touches your heart, subscribe to the channel for more real confessions like this one. Before I start the story, I want to get to know you too. Write the flag colors of the country you're watching from, and I'll try to guess. Who knows, maybe we're neighbors. I'm 66 years old. Most people look at me and think, poor little old lady, alone in that big house. But I didn't get here by being poor or being a victim. I built a business from scratch when my husband, Walter, was barely making enough for rent. While he worked at a hardware store, I was washing and pressing other people's clothes in the backyard of our house in the old 4th Ward. 42 years later, I had 5 dry cleaners. 5. With employees, loyal customers, contracts with hotels. I paid for my house in Cascade Heights myself. The furniture, the green velvet curtains, the ceramic dinnerware I inherited from my mother, the woven tapestries I bought one by one over the years. I built all of that. Walter died 3 years ago. A heart attack while watching the news. Quick. No pain, the doctors told me. But for me it was like having the floor ripped out from under me. 45 years of marriage don't just disappear like that. My 2 children already had their own lives. Tanya, my older daughter, lives in Birmingham with her husband and 3 kids. We talk every week, but her life is there. And Darius, my younger son, he left from Madrid 15 years ago. Said there weren't opportunities for an engineer like him in Atlanta. I supported him, gave him money for the ticket for the first few months to get established. At first he called often, then less and less. Christmas through video calls, birthdays with text messages. I understood, or that's what I told myself, so I wouldn't feel that emptiness that grows when your children don't need you anymore. The house felt enormous without Walter. Every room held a memory. The living room where we played cards on Sundays, the kitchen where he drank his coffee reading the paper, the garden where we planted the climbing roses that now cover the entire back wall. I got up every morning at 6, made coffee in the French press Walter gave me for our 20th anniversary, sat in the dining room with my cup, looking out the window toward the quiet Cascade Heights street and thinking, what did I work so hard for if I'm here alone now? But I didn't sink. I'm not one of those who stay crying. I kept going with my dry cleaners, visited each one twice a week, checked accounts, talked with my employees, read novels in the afternoons, went to church on Sundays, took painting classes on Thursdays at a studio near Piedmont Park. And then, 6 months ago, Darius called me. "Mama, I have incredible news," he said with that excited voice I hadn't heard from him in years. "I got married." I stayed quiet. Married. My son had gotten married and I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. Her name is Simone. "She's Spanish, Mama, she's wonderful. And we're coming back to Atlanta." My heart jumped. My son returning after 15 years. I thought it was a miracle. I thought God had heard my prayers from so many silent nights. "We need a place to stay while we find an apartment," he continued. "Do you think we could stay with you for a few weeks?" "A month maximum, I promise." "Of course, my love," I replied without hesitation. "This is your home." They arrived on a Tuesday in February. I had cleaned the entire house, prepared the upstairs bedrooms, bought fresh flowers for the entrance table. I had shrimp and grits specially ordered from West End Market, cornbread from the bakery, fresh fruit salad. When I opened the door, I almost didn't recognize Darius. Thinner, with gray at his temples, with that tired look of someone who's worked hard, but he smiled when he saw me. "Mama," he said and hugged me tight. Behind him was her. Simone was tall, blonde, with straight hair to her shoulders. She wore an expensive-looking beige coat, black-heeled boots, pearl earrings. She had that kind of cold, elegant beauty. I figured she was about 31, 32. "Mama Marilyn," she said with a marked but melodic Spanish accent. She came over and kissed both my cheeks. "Finally I get to meet you. Darius has told me so much about you. She smelled like French perfume, Chanel, I think. Her skin was perfect, no wrinkles, no spots, her nails painted impeccable red. Welcome, daughter," I said, because that's how I was raised. Family is sacred. They came in with their suitcases. Simone looked around the house with those blue eyes that seemed to evaluate everything. She stopped in front of my woven tapestries. "How quaint," she said. I don't know if it was a compliment or criticism. That night I had dinner with them. I served the shrimp and grits, cornbread, fruit salad. Darius ate eagerly, smiling. Simone barely tasted anything. "It's just that in Spain we eat differently, Mama Marilyn," she explained, touching her stomach. "My digestion is sensitive." "Oh, of course, don't worry. Tomorrow I'll prepare something lighter." I went to sleep happy that night. My son was home. Finally, after 3 years of loneliness, there were voices in this house again. I didn't know that happiness would last exactly 11 days. On day 12, I found my credit card outside my purse. Coincidence? I thought so at first too, but what I discovered afterward chilled my blood. The first days with Darius and Simone in the house were like living in a movie I had been waiting years for. I woke up early as always, but now with purpose. I prepared coffee for 3, set the table with the embroidered tablecloth I saved for special occasions, cut fresh fruit, cantaloupe, honeydew, pineapple, warmed up cornbread. The kitchen smelled like home again. Darius came down first, hair messy, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. He sat in the same chair where he sat as a child. "Smells just like when I was little, Mama," he said, smiling. Those moments filled my chest with something I hadn't felt since Walter died. Purpose, usefulness, love. Simone came down an hour later, always perfectly put together. Hair brushed, light makeup, clothes that matched down to her socks. Never sweatpants or pajamas, always brand-name yoga sets or casual dresses that cost what I made in a week with one dry cleaner. "Good morning?" "Mama Marilyn," she'd say, kissing my cheek. Always polite, always smiling. At first, I loved it. "Oh, what a beautiful house you have," she said while sipping her green tea, because coffee upset her stomach. "Darius never told me you live so well." "Well, yes, thank God we've been blessed," I replied modestly, though inside I felt proud. "I had worked 40 years for this house, and you have help, I suppose?" she asked, looking at the clean house. "No, I do everything myself. I like to stay active." Her eyes widened. "You clean this huge house alone? Mama Marilyn, at your age you should be resting. Let me help you." She offered to go to the grocery store with me, to accompany me to the bank, to organize my closet, which according to her had potential, but needed a European eye. Darius spent mornings looking for work on his laptop, sending resume, having video interviews. I brought him coffee, asked how it was going. "It's hard, Mama. I was away 15 years. Nobody knows me here anymore." "Be patient, my love. Something will come up." Simone wasn't looking for work. When I asked, she said, "I'm in a process of personal reinvention, Mama Marilyn. In Spain, I worked in marketing, but here, I want to find something that truly fulfills my soul." I nodded, though I didn't really understand what that meant. In my day, you worked at whatever was available. Your soul got fulfilled by the paycheck. But I didn't say anything, didn't want to seem old-fashioned. One afternoon, Simone came with me to the bank. I was going to check my accounts, sign some papers for the dry cleaners. She offered to drive me in the car they rented, with my money. Though I found that out later. While I stood in line, she looked at everything. The screens, the brochures, the people taking money from the ATMs. "Do you have a savings account, Mama?" she asked on the way back. "Yes, of course." "And the dry cleaners are in your name?" Yes, everything is in my name. Walter and I were always very organized about that. That's good, she said, smiling. It's important for a woman to have her assets secured. I liked that she said that. Made me feel modern, independent. What I didn't like was when 2 days later I found papers from my bank statements on the dining room table. I kept those in my desk in my bedroom. Simone, I called. She came out of the kitchen drying her hands. Yes, Mama? Did you move these papers? Oh, sorry. I was looking for a pen and saw them. I glanced through them without thinking. Forgive my indiscretion. She put her hand to her chest, embarrassed. It's just that in Spain, we're very direct about money within family. I didn't think it was wrong. I didn't know what to say. Technically, she hadn't done anything wrong. Just looked at papers that were there. Don't worry, I said, putting them away. But something small, very small, moved uncomfortably in my stomach. Simone started cooking. Spanish dishes I'd never tried. Potato tortilla, paella, gazpacho. Darius ate happily. I tried and praised, though I missed my stews, my collard greens, my cornbread. You should rest more, Mama Marilyn, Simone said, serving the food. Leave the kitchen to me. And I felt displaced in my own house, but I didn't want to be ungrateful. She was being kind. A week later, Simone suggested redecorating the living room. Those tapestries are beautiful, she said, stroking one with her foot. But they're too busy. The house would feel more spacious with the hardwood floors showing, more minimalist, more European. I loved those tapestries. I had bought them one by one on my travels with Walter. The living room one we bought in Morocco during our delayed honeymoon, when we could finally travel after years of saving. Every thread held a memory. I like them this way, I said. Gentle but firm. Of course, it was just an idea. She smiled. But I saw something in her eyes, something I couldn't identify. Then Darius started talking less. Spent hours on his laptop, quiet, tense. When I asked how he was, he'd answer, "Fine, Mama, just tired." One night I heard them arguing in their room. Low voices but harsh. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the tone. Darius sounded frustrated. Simone sounded controlling. The next morning, Simone came down radiant. Mama Marilyn, I have a wonderful idea. How about we go shopping? You and me, a girls' day. I had never had a girls' day. I worked my whole life. My friends were customers, neighbors, church members. But the idea excited me. I'd love that. We went to Lenox Square Mall. Simone knew all the stores. We went into boutiques where dresses cost more than my monthly rent from 20 years ago. Try this on, she said, handing me clothes. This color looks divine on you. I tried things on, uncomfortable. The clothes were pretty, but they weren't me. They were clothes for 30-year-olds, not 66-year-olds. I don't know, Simone. Oh, Mama, you have to update yourself. You're too beautiful to dress like an older woman. Like an older woman. I was an older woman. I bought nothing that day, but Simone did. 3 blouses, a purse, shoes. At the register, when she took out her card, the charge was declined. Oh, how strange, she said. Must be a problem with the Spanish bank? She looked at me. Mama, could you lend me? I'll pay you back as soon as I fix this. I lent her my card. It was $850. I'll pay you back next week, I promise. She never paid me back anything, and that was just the beginning. Because 2 days later, my credit card appeared in a place where I hadn't left it. And when I saw that month's statement, I understood I had let a wolf dressed as a daughter-in-law into my home. There are moments in life when your instinct screams that something is wrong. But your heart, that foolish heart, tells you you're exaggerating, that you're being paranoid, that you're seeing ghosts where there aren't any. I ignored my instinct, and it almost cost me everything. It was a Thursday morning. I always kept my gold credit card in the same place, the inner compartment of my purse inside. My bag that hung on the hook in my bedroom. Always. 40 years of the same routine. That morning, when I went to take it out to pay for gas, it wasn't there. My heart skipped a beat. I checked all the compartments. Nothing. I emptied the entire bag onto my bed. Nothing. I must have left it somewhere else, I thought. But I never left anything somewhere else. I'm one of those people who has a place for everything. I went downstairs searching, checked the kitchen, dining room, living room, and then I saw it. My gold card on the entrance table next to a vase. I stared at it like it was a snake. I would never ever leave my card there. That vase was near the entrance. Anyone who came in could see it. Mama Marilyn, are you looking for something? Simone was coming downstairs freshly showered, hair wet wrapped in a towel. She was wearing my robe. My pink silk robe that Tanya gave me for my birthday. Simone, is that my robe? Oh yes, sorry. Mine is in the washing machine and I was cold. Does it bother you? Yes, it bothered me. But how do I say that without sounding petty? No, it's fine. Just let me know next time. Of course, she smiled. She saw my card in my hand. You found it, good. Did you put it there? No, it was already there when I came down. But I saw it this morning and thought it had fallen. But I hadn't put it there. I knew it. I was completely sure. Oh, well, thank you. I went up to my room, put the card in my purse, and for the first time since they arrived, I locked my bedroom door. The following days were a collection of small, strange things. My checkbook appeared open on the dining room table. I was looking for paper to make a list, Simone said. I found Simone in my closet looking at my jewelry. What beautiful antique pieces you have, Mama. Tell me their stories. Darius got a phone call and went out to the garden. He spoke quietly, nervously, looking back as if he didn't want to be heard. My ceramic dinnerware, the set I inherited from my mother and only used at Christmas, appeared in the everyday cabinet. I moved it so it's easier to reach, Simone explained. At your age, you shouldn't be climbing for dishes. At my age. She was 32 and I was 66, 34 years difference. But she talked like I was a senile old woman. I can climb perfectly fine. Simone, of course, I just want to take care of you. One afternoon, Simone came with me to one of my dry cleaners, the one in Virginia Highland, the oldest. The one I opened first when Darius was barely 5 years old. We arrived and my employees greeted me warmly. Ruth Ann, who's been with me 25 years, hugged me. Miss Marilyn, so good to see you. And to Simone. This young lady must be Simone. Darius's wife, Ruth Ann smiled politely, but I saw how her eyes evaluated Simone. Ruth Ann knows people. She has that gift. Simone looked at the business, the washing machines, industrial irons, hangers with clean clothes wrapped in plastic, the counter where we serve customers. And how much does this bring in monthly? She asked bluntly. Ruth Ann and I looked at each other. That's private. Daughter, I said, uncomfortable. Oh, sorry. It's just that Darius and I are looking at business options, and I thought maybe you might need help managing. At your age, these things become heavy. Again, the age, like being 66 automatically made me useless. I manage my businesses perfectly, Simone. I've been doing it for 40 years. Yes, of course. I didn't mean to offend, but she did offend, and Ruth Ann noticed. When Simone went to the bathroom, Ruth Ann came closer. Miss Marilyn, she said quietly, be careful with that girl. Why do you say that? I don't know, something in her eyes. I've seen a lot of people in my life, and that one has eyes like someone who's calculating. I wanted to defend Simone, tell Ruth Ann she was wrong, but I couldn't, because deep down I had noticed it too. Those calculating eyes, always measuring, always evaluating. That night my bank statement arrived. I sat in my room with the door closed and opened the envelope. My heart stopped. $50,000 in 1 month. $50,000. I never ever spent more than $1,500 a month, and that included utilities, food, gas, everything. I reviewed each line. There were charges I didn't recognize. Quinto New Restaurant, $706 Center. Polanco Spa, $100. Buckhead Boutique, $5,600. Tane Jewelry, $10,700. Macy's, $3,370. Nordstrom, $5,330. Hair Salon, $420. And more, much more. My hands were shaking. I went downstairs with the statement clutched in my fist. Darius was in the living room watching television. Simone wasn't there. Darius, I said. My voice sounded strange, hard. I need to talk to you. He saw my face and went pale. Mama, I put the paper in front of him. Explain this to me, he read in silence. His shoulders sank. Mama, I can explain. I'm listening. Simone needed clothes for job interviews, and well, she comes from a family with money in Spain. She's used to certain things. I didn't want her to feel bad here. $50,000 in clothes. I was going to pay you back, Mama, as soon as I get a job. When, Darius? When are you going to get a job? When are you going to pay me back this? I had never spoken to him like that. Never. I was the mom who forgave everything, who understood everything, who justified everything. But $50,000 doesn't get justified. Darius put his hands to his face. I'm sorry, Mama, really, I'm sorry. At that moment, Simone walked in, carrying shopping bags, more bags. She saw the statement in Darius's hands. Her face changed. Mama Marilyn, she started. Don't talk to me, I interrupted. She looked surprised, like she couldn't believe I was putting a stop to this. I just wanted, she began. But I cut her off again. You spent my money without permission. Used my card like it was yours. Her eyes filled with tears. Perfect tears that rolled down her cheeks without ruining her makeup. I can't believe. You're talking to me like this, she said with a broken voice. After everything we've suffered in Spain, after we lost everything, we came here looking for family support, and you treat us like we're thieves. Darius stood up. Mama, Simone is right. We've been through a lot. I thought you would understand. And there I was. The villain. The bad one. The one who didn't understand. Simone cried in Darius's arms. He looked at me with disappointment. I'm sorry, I said finally. The words came out by themselves. You're right. Forgive me. Why did I apologize? Why did I, the one who had been robbed, end up asking for forgiveness? Because I was afraid. Afraid of losing my son again. Afraid of being alone. Afraid they would leave and never come back. That night in my bed, I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried since Walter died. And the worst part was that I knew, deep down I knew, this was just beginning. Because what I heard 3 nights later, at 2 a.m, confirmed I wasn't crazy. I was being hunted. If you're still here, leave a meaningful quote below. Let's see how many hearts felt this story. There are silences that weigh more than words, and there are words that destroy more than any blow. The ones I heard that early morning broke me into pieces. After apologizing, me apologizing, can you believe it? The house became uncomfortable. Simone spoke to me minimally. Darius avoided my gaze. I felt like an intruder in my own house. I started locking myself in my room after dinner. I went up early, got into my bed and read until sleep overcame me, or pretended to read, because the truth is I turned pages without understanding anything. My head wouldn't stop spinning. Am I exaggerating? Am I a bitter old woman? Is it really so bad that my daughter-in-law uses my card? But $50,000. $50,000 wasn't a family favor. It was robbery. I tried to talk to Tanya, my daughter in Birmingham. I called her one afternoon when Darius and Simone went out. Mama, how are you? She asked with that busy voice of someone who has 1,000 things on her mind. Fine, sweetheart. Do you have a moment? Quickly, Mama. The kids get out of school in 10 minutes, I told her. I told her everything, the expenses, the things that disappeared, the discomfort. Mama, she said with a sigh. Darius just got back. Give him time. He's probably going through a difficult moment. But Tanya, Mama, you have money. It's not like you're going to end up on the street for lending them a little. They're family, and Simone is his wife. You have to accept her. I stayed quiet. Mama, I really have to go. We'll talk later. Yes, I love you. She hung up. I sat there in the living room with the phone in my hand, feeling lonelier than ever. Even my own daughter didn't understand me. The days passed. Simone smiled at me again, but it was a different smile, colder, like I had failed some test, and now she knew exactly who I was. A stupid old woman with money. She started making changes in the house to help me. My woven tapestries disappeared. Mama Marilyn, they were so old and dusty. I took them to be cleaned, she said. They'll return them in 2 weeks. They never came back. When I asked, Simone shrugged. Oh, how strange. I'm going to call the cleaners. My tapestries, the ones I bought with Walter, the one from Morocco, the one from Turkey, the one from Iran we found at an antique market in Tehran. 40 years of memories trampled and wrapped in lies. Then it was my ceramic dinnerware that I inherited from my mother. 18 pieces of French porcelain with gold borders that my mama cared for her whole life like treasure. One day I came home and found the dinnerware box in the garage, open, empty. Simone, I called. My voice was trembling. She came out of the kitchen drying her hands with a towel. She seemed calm, too calm. Where is my dinnerware? Oh, Mama, I'm so sorry, it broke. It broke? All of it? I was washing it, and one piece slipped from my hand, and when it fell, it broke the others. You know how delicate porcelain is. Lie. That was a lie. Porcelain doesn't break in a chain like dominoes. Where are the pieces? I threw them away. I didn't want you to feel bad seeing them broken. I stared at her. She held my gaze without blinking. Simone, that dinnerware belonged to my mother. I know, and I really am very sorry. She paused. But Mama, they're just dishes. They're things. What's important is family, right? Just dishes. 18 pieces of my history reduced to just dishes. I turned around and went up to my room. I closed the door, sat on the edge of my bed and cried. But this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. Darius came home that night and I confronted him. Your wife broke your grandmother's dinnerware. It was an accident, Mama. An accident? 18 pieces? She already apologized. What more do you want? What more did I want? I wanted my son to defend me. I wanted him to see what I was seeing. I wanted him to believe me. Darius, something is wrong here. What's wrong is your attitude, Mama. His voice hardened. Simone is doing everything possible to help you, to modernize this house, to take care of you, and you just criticize her. Take care of me? By spending my money and breaking my things? You live in the past, Mama, clinging to old things, dusty tapestries, dishes you never used. Simone is doing you a favor. I went cold. A favor, I repeated. Yes, a favor. Maybe you should thank her instead of attacking her. He left my room, slamming the door. I stood there in the middle of my room, feeling my world crumble. My son who I carried in my arms, whose scraped knees I healed, who I supported through college, who I paid for his ticket to Spain so he could chase his dreams. That son had just told me I lived in the past. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned in bed, stared at the ceiling, listened to the sounds of the house. At 2 a.m, I got up. I was thirsty. I went downstairs in silence, barefoot in the darkness. The kitchen light was on. I heard voices. I stopped in the hallway, hidden in the shadows. You can't keep going like this, Darius. You have to pressure her more. It was Simone's voice, low but firm. I don't know, Simone. She's my mother. Your mother has enough 5 dry cleaners, this house, savings. And what does she do with all that? Nothing. She sits here aging, surrounded by old junk. My blood froze. But listen to me. In 2 years, maximum 3, with the Alzheimer's that's starting, we can convince her to sign a power of attorney. Legal, no problems. Simone, my mama doesn't have Alzheimer's. Not yet, but she's 66. At that age, any forgetfulness, any confusion can be the beginning, and we just have to help her believe she's worse than she is. Silence. I don't know if Darius could do that. His voice sounded weak, scared. Do you prefer to go back to Spain with nothing? Keep sending resumes that nobody answers? Live in a 400-square-foot apartment while your mama lives here like a queen? Simone paused. She had her life, Darius, 40 years building. Now it's our turn. But she's my mother. Your mother or our future? Decide. The silence that followed was worse than any words, because Darius didn't say no. He didn't get up indignant, didn't confront her, he just stayed quiet, and that silence meant he was considering it. I went up the stairs in silence, stepping carefully on each step. I entered my room, closed the door without making noise. I sat on my bed in the darkness. I was trembling. My whole body was trembling. It wasn't paranoia. I wasn't exaggerating. I wasn't crazy. My daughter-in-law was planning to rob me and my son. My son was allowing it, Alzheimer's. They were going to make me believe I had Alzheimer's to take everything. In that moment, something changed inside me. No more tears, no more apologies, no more being the victim. If they wanted to play dirty, I was going to show them who invented the game, because Simone made one mistake, a huge mistake. She underestimated the old woman, and this old woman didn't build an empire from scratch by being stupid. They say the greatest pain isn't what your enemies give you. It's what the people you love give you while you keep loving them. I loved my son, and he was burying me alive. After that early morning, something inside me hardened, like when clay becomes brick after fire. I was still me, but harder, stronger, more dangerous. I decided something that night. I wasn't going to confront them, not yet. First, I needed to understand how far their plan went. I needed proof, I needed strategy. So I acted. I acted like the confused old woman they wanted me to be. The next morning, I went down to breakfast, as always. Simone was preparing her green tea. Darius was checking his phone. "Good morning," I said with a soft voice. "Good morning." "Mama?" Darius replied without looking up. Simone looked at me, evaluating, searching for signs that I had heard them. I smiled at her. "Did you sleep well, Mama Marilyn?" "Yes, daughter, though I got up in the middle of the night for water. Age, you know, one gets up a lot at night." I saw how her eyes lit up. I gave her exactly what she wanted, a reminder of my age, of my weakness. "Oh, Mama, did you know that can be a sign of many things? You should go to the doctor, get a complete checkup." "Maybe you're right. Actually," Simone continued, pouring me coffee, "I've noticed that sometimes you forget where you put things, like your card or keys. It's normal at your age, but it wouldn't hurt to check." There was the first hook. "You think so? Just for prevention, Mama." Darius looked at her. She returned the look, a silent message between them. "Yes, Mama," Darius said. "Simone is right. A checkup wouldn't hurt." I nodded, drank my coffee, acted like their words had worried me. The following days were a silent chess game. Simone began helping me more aggressively. She entered my closet without permission and took out boxes with my belongings. "Mama Marilyn, we need to declutter. You have clothes from 20 years ago. They don't fit anymore. They're out of style." I found black garbage bags full of my clothes in the garage, dresses I wore to important weddings, the sweater my sister knitted for me, the scarf Walter gave me for our 30th anniversary. Simone: "Those clothes are mine. Were yours, Mama." Past tense. You have to let go of the past. Darius was there watching. He said nothing. "Darius," I called. "Say something." "Tell her something, Mama. Simone just wants to help." "Yes, the house is very cluttered," he said. "My house was full of my life, and they were emptying it." But I said nothing more. I just took the bags back up to my room when they weren't there. I checked each piece. Some had bleach stains, ruined on purpose. One day I came home from the dry cleaner and found my living room reorganized. The furniture in different places, the paintings Walter and I bought on our travels stacked against the wall. In their place were cheap prints from Target. "Do you like it?" Simone asked. She was proud. "It gives it a more modern touch, more fresh." "Where are my paintings?" "In the garage. They were so dark, so depressing. This house needed light. Those paintings were worth more than $18,000. The Diego Rivera print, the Romar Bearden, the landscape from a local Atlanta artist. Walter had collected them over years. "Simone, those paintings are works of art." "Oh, Mama, they're old paintings by dead people. Nobody puts those things in their house anymore." I felt rage rising in my throat, but I swallowed it. "It's fine," I said. "Whatever you want." Simone smiled victoriously. But that night, when they slept, I brought down each painting from the garage, took them up to my room, hid them behind my closet. They weren't going to sell them. They weren't going to give them away. They weren't going to destroy them. The house no longer felt mine. I walked through the halls and it was like being in a hotel. Everything was changed. The smells were different. Simone's perfume had replaced the scent of wood and lavender my house always had. The kitchen had products I didn't buy. The refrigerator was full of European food I didn't eat. My pantry, reorganized by Simone, was a maze where I couldn't find anything. One day I looked for my ceramic sugar bowl, the one I used every day for my coffee. My mother gave it to me. It wasn't there. Simone, did you see my sugar bowl? That ugly green ceramic thing? I threw it away, Mama. It was all chipped. It wasn't chipped. My mother gave it to me. Well, now you have this one. She showed me a stainless steel sugar bowl, modern, without soul, without history. Darius came into the kitchen, saw my face. What's wrong? Simone threw away my sugar bowl. Mama, for God's sake, it's a sugar bowl. It was my mother's. And now you have another one. What's the problem? The problem was that they were erasing me piece by piece, memory by memory. They were taking me out of my own life. That afternoon, I locked myself in my room. I sat on the edge of my bed and looked around. It was the only space that was still mine, the only place Simone hadn't entered yet. I took out my phone, called Marco Langston, my lawyer, the same one who had helped me establish the dry cleaners, organize the inheritance when Walter died. Marco, I need to see you urgently, and I don't want anyone to know. Are you okay, Marilyn? No, but I'm going to be. We met 2 days later in his office. I didn't tell Darius or Simone anything. I told them I was going to the doctor, which technically wasn't a lie. I was going to cure a disease, the disease of naivety. Tell me, Marco said when he closed his office door. I told him everything. The expenses, the things that disappeared, the conversation I heard in the early morning. Marco listened in silence. When I finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Marilyn, are you sure of what you heard? Completely. Then we have to act quickly. If they're thinking about a power of attorney, it means they're going to start planting doubts about your mental capacity. They're going to look for you to sign things without realizing it. What do I do? First, we protect your assets. Change beneficiaries, create a bulletproof trust. Nobody, absolutely nobody, can touch your money without your express authorization in front of a notary. Do it. Second, we document everything. Do you have proof of the expenses? I showed him the bank statements. Perfect. This is evidence of financial abuse. And the conversation? Just my word. It's not enough for a legal case, but it's enough to protect you. He paused. Marilyn, I'm going to tell you something hard. If this goes further, you're going to have to choose between your money and your son. I already chose, I said. And I was surprised by the firmness in my voice. I spent 40 years building this. I'm not going to give it away out of fear of loneliness. Marco smiled. That's the Marilyn I know. We spent 3 hours in his office. I signed papers, changed wills, created a trust that protected 80% of my assets. I updated beneficiaries. Tanya would get 60%. Charity institutions 40%. Darius, nothing. Not because I didn't love him, but because loving him didn't mean letting myself be destroyed. One more thing, I told Marco before leaving. I need security cameras in my house. Cameras in common areas. It's legal, right? As long as they're not in bathrooms or private bedrooms, yes. Then I need the best ones, and nobody can know they're there. Marco nodded. I know someone. I'll send you his contact. 2 days later, while Simone and Darius went out to look for work, or so they said, a technician came to my house. We installed small cameras, almost invisible, in the living room, dining room, kitchen, and entrance hall. They connected to my phone. I could see everything in real time. If you need to record something specific, just touch here, the technician explained. It automatically saves to the cloud. Perfect. When Darius and Simone returned, the house looked exactly the same, but now I had eyes everywhere. And 3 days later, those eyes showed me something that confirmed all my suspicions. What I saw in that recording didn't just break my heart. It gave me the weapon I needed for war. The truth hurts, but truth also liberates. And what I saw on my phone that afternoon freed me from the last piece of guilt I had left. It was Tuesday. I had gone to supervise the dry cleaner in Virginia Highland. I left at 11 in the morning and returned at 3 in the afternoon. 4 hours. 4 hours when Simone and Darius thought they were alone. I entered my house and everything seemed normal. Simone was in the living room reading a magazine. Darius in the dining room with his laptop. "Hello, Mama," Darius said without looking up. "How did it go?" Simone asked with that smile that no longer fooled me. "Fine, tired. I'm going to rest a while." I went up to my room, closed the door, took out my phone. The cameras had recorded everything. I fast-forwarded to 11:15 a.m., 15 minutes after I left. In the recording, Simone and Darius waited, looked toward the stairs. Simone looked out the window to confirm my car was gone. Then they went up to my room, the only space that was still mine. My heart was beating so hard I thought I was going to faint. I saw how Simone opened my closet, checked my clothes, put her hands in the pockets of my jackets, coats, looking for something. Darius opened the drawers of my dresser, took out my jewelry, put it on the bed. "These emerald earrings are worth like $3,000, Simone said, taking them. The camera didn't capture audio perfectly, but I could read her lips. "We can't sell them here," Darius responded. "Mama will notice them missing. We sell them in Birmingham or Nashville, far away." Darius hesitated. "Simone." "What?" "Your mama has boxes full of jewelry she never uses. She won't even notice, but I would notice. Those earrings were a gift from Walter on our 40th anniversary. 2 years before he died, they kept searching. They found documents. My old will, the one I hadn't updated with Marco yet." Simone read it. She smiled. "Everything to Darius and Tanya 50-50, she said. "Very good." "Mama has always been fair," Darius said. "Fair?" "No, predictable." Simone folded the paper. "When she signs the power of attorney, this paper won't matter. We'll be able to move everything before she realizes it. And Tanya? Tanya lives in Birmingham. By the time she finds out, it'll be too late." Darius sat on my bed. On the bed where I slept every night. He looked tired, sad. "I don't know if I can do this." Simone knelt in front of him, took his hands. "Darius, look at me. We've been struggling for 2 years. 2 years in Spain without work, without money, living in that horrible apartment. We came here because it was our only option. I know, but your mama had her life, a good life. House, business, marriage, she had everything." She paused. "She's 66 years old. How many years does she have left? 10, 15, and us? Do we wait for her to die to start living? Don't talk like that. It's the truth and you know it." Simone stood up. "Besides, we're not taking anything from her. We're just advancing what would eventually be ours. Technically, it's theft. Technically, it's early inheritance." Darius didn't respond. Simone kept searching. She found my checkbook. She took a photo with her phone. "What's that for?" Darius asked. "Information. You never know when it might be useful." She took out more things. Papers from the dry cleaners. Old bank statements. House deeds. "This house is worth like $600,000, Simone said. Looking at the deed. $600,000, Darius. And your mama here alone, not enjoying it. It's her house, for now." Simone carefully put everything back in place, as if they had never been there. "When I have the power of attorney, it's going to be our house." The recording continued. I saw them go downstairs, sit in the living room, act like nothing had happened. I turned off the video. I sat on my bed, the same bed where Darius sat hours ago, and felt something strange. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't surprise. It was clarity. That night, I waited. I waited until 2 in the morning, the same time I had heard them the first time. And like it was a macabre ritual, exactly at 2, I heard steps on the stairs. I went downstairs in silence. I hid in the same place, this time with my phone ready to record. "Did you talk to that notary yet?" Simone asked, pouring water. "Yes, he says we need a doctor to certify that Mama has some cognitive deterioration. That's easy. There are doctors who'll sign anything for money. Simone, are you talking about fraud? I'm talking about survival. Simone moved closer to him. Look, it's simple. We take your mama to the right doctor. He asks questions that confuse her. She gets nervous, makes mistakes on some answers. The doctor certifies mild cognitive decline. Done. With that and the power of attorney, we can start moving money. And if she refuses to sign? She won't refuse, because we're going to present it as something good. Mama, this is to protect you, so if something happens to you, we can help you without legal problems. She'll sign. Silence. And then what? Darius asked. Then we sell 1 or 2 dry cleaners. There are 5. She won't notice if we sell 2. That gives us like $480,000. With that, we set up our business. We become independent, and your mama keeps living here peacefully with her 3 remaining dry cleaners. It sounds so calculated. It is calculated because that's how you survive, Darius. Not with sentimentality. And if Tanya finds out? Tanya, please. Tanya barely talks to your mama. Lives in her Birmingham world with her kids. By the time she realizes, it'll all be done. And your mama will say she authorized everything because legally she did. Darius ran his hands over his face. I don't know, Simone. She's my mother. Your mother who emotionally abandoned you for 15 years. Your mother who never visited you in Spain. Your mother who now makes you feel guilty for needing help. Simone lifted his face. She had her chance to be generous. She didn't take it. Now it's our turn to take what we need. But she didn't abandon me. I left because if they had really supported you, you wouldn't have had to leave. That was the last straw, because that was a lie. I did support Darius. I paid for his ticket the first few months, sent him money when he needed it, talked to him every time he called. But Simone was rewriting history, making me the villain, and Darius was letting her. Monday we go to the doctor, Simone said. You tell your mama it's a routine checkup. I already have the contact. He charges us $1,800 for the certificate. $1,800 for a lie. $1,800 for our future. Darius nodded. Slow, defeated. Okay, and with those 2 words, my son chose. He didn't choose me. He chose money. I went upstairs before they came out of the kitchen. I entered my room, sat in the darkness with the phone in my hand. I had everything recorded, video and audio. I had proof. I sat there in silence while I processed what I had just witnessed. 45 years of marriage with Walter taught me something. In life there are 2 types of people, those who build and those who destroy. I was always a builder. I built a business, built a family, built a life. Simone was a destroyer, and she was using my son as a tool. But there was something else Walter taught me. When someone wants to destroy you, you don't stand in front of them. You step aside and let them destroy themselves. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront them yet. I was going to give them enough rope to hang themselves. I was going to go to that doctor. I was going to act confused if necessary. I was going to let them think their plan was working. And when they thought they had won, when they were celebrating their victory, that's when I was going to show them who Marilyn Hayes really was. Because the biggest mistake they made wasn't robbing me, it was underestimating me. There's a saying my mother used to repeat, the shrimp that falls asleep gets swept away by the current. But there's another one she never said, one I invented that week. The shrimp that plays dead catches the fisherman. I was going to be that shrimp. The following days were the hardest of my life. Not because of what was happening, but because of what I had to pretend. I had to act like I didn't know anything, like I hadn't heard them, like I hadn't seen the videos. Every morning I went down to breakfast and smiled at them. Good morning, children. Every night I had dinner with them and asked about their day. How did it go? Find anything interesting? And inside, every fiber of my being screamed. But I said nothing because I had a plan. Friday. 3 days after the nighttime conversation, I called Marco Langston from the bathroom of a coffee shop near Piedmont Park. Marco, I need to move money fast. How much? $120,000 in cash. Silence on the other end. Marilyn, that's a lot of cash. What for? To keep it where they can't touch it. And the rest of your money? The trust we created protects the bulk, but I want liquidity available just in case. Understood. When? Tomorrow. Marco sighed. You'll have to go personally to the bank. Withdrawals of that amount need personal authorization. Perfect. Will you come with me? Of course. Saturday, I told Simone and Darius I was going to visit my sister in Savannah. Do you need me to drive you, Mama? Darius asked. No, son. I'm going to take the bus. I like seeing the scenery. Simone looked at me with those calculating eyes. When are you coming back? Tomorrow afternoon. Be careful, Mama Marilyn. At your age, traveling alone can be dangerous. At my age. Always at my age. I'll be fine, I said. I left with my small suitcase, like I was really going to Savannah. But I didn't go to Savannah. I went to the bank. Marco was waiting for me outside. We went in together. The manager, who had known me for 20 years, received us in his private office. Mrs. Hayes, a withdrawal of $120,000 is unusual. Are you sure? Completely sure. May I ask what for? Marco intervened. Private legal matters. Mrs. Hayes is in full use of her faculties and has the right to dispose of her money as she sees fit. The manager nodded. Of course, I was just asking for protocol. It took 2 hours to prepare the money. $120,000 in $500,000 bills, all in neat bundles inside 2 canvas bags that looked like ordinary shopping bags. Where are you going to keep this? Marco asked when we left. In a safety deposit box, but not at this bank. We went to another bank in another neighborhood, under another corporate name Marco had created for me years ago when we established the dry cleaners. I rented the largest safety deposit box they had, stored the money, also stored copies of all the videos, bank statements, audio recordings, proof, all the proof. If something happens to me, I told Marco, everything is here. Nothing's going to happen to you, Marilyn, but if it does, if they put me somewhere, if I sign something under pressure, if I appear at some notary saying things I don't remember saying, I looked him in the eyes. This box proves I was conscious, that I planned this, that I'm not crazy. Marco nodded. I'm your executor. If anything happens, I'll take care of everything. Thank you. Then we went to a technology store. I bought a new phone, prepaid, not registered in my name. What's that for? Marco asked. In case they take my phone. In case they check my calls. This is my backup. I kept the phone in my bag along with the receipt for the safety deposit box and a copy of the keys. That night, I stayed in a hotel near the airport. Not in Savannah, in Atlanta, 30 minutes from my house. I sat on the bed of that anonymous room and looked at myself in the dresser mirror. I was 66 years old, gray hair I no longer bothered to dye, wrinkles around my eyes, age spots on my hands. But my eyes were alive, alert, furious. They're not going to win, I said out loud. They're not going to take what took me 40 years to build. Sunday, I returned home. Simone and Darius were watching television. Mama, how did it go? Darius asked, getting up to hug me. Fine, son. Your aunt sends her regards. How was the trip? Long, tiring. You know, at my age, trips are hard. I saw how Simone and Darius exchanged looks. I gave them what they wanted, more evidence of my fragility. Mama, Darius said, Simone and I want to talk to you about something. Yes? We think you should get a complete medical checkup. You know, for prevention. A checkup, yes. We've noticed that sometimes you forget things, you get tired faster. It's normal at your age, but it wouldn't hurt to check. There was the first step of their plan. I acted worried. You think something's wrong? No, just prevention, Mama, Simone intervened. Actually, I already made an appointment with an excellent doctor. Geriatrician, specialist in older adults. It's Monday at 11. How convenient. They already had everything ready. Well, I said with a small voice, if you think it's necessary, it's for the best. Mama? That night in my room, I reviewed the cameras one more time. Recorded everything, every word, every gesture. Monday arrived. We got in the car, all 3 of us. Darius was driving, Simone up front, me in the back like a passenger in my own life. We arrived at an office in Buckhead, nice building, discreet. The doctor received us. He was about 55 years old, expensive suit, Professional smile. Mrs. Hayes, pleasure to meet you. I'm Dr. Leonard Brooks. He had me go into his office. Darius and Simone stayed outside. They don't come in? I asked. It's not necessary. This is between you and me. I sat across from his desk. I'm going to ask you some questions. They're part of a routine cognitive exam. Don't worry, he began. Questions designed to confuse, to make an older person make mistakes. What day is today? Monday, February 24th. What year are we in? 2025. Who is the president? I answered correctly. Can you subtract 7 from 100? Then keep subtracting 7s. 93, 86, 79, 72, 65. Perfect. Now I'm going to tell you 3 words. I want you to remember them. I'll ask you again in 5 minutes. The words are apple, key, hat. He continued with more questions, some traps, others absurd. What's your son's name? Darius. And your daughter? Tanya. How old are you? 66. At the end, he returned to the 3 words. Do you remember the 3 words I told you? Apple, key, hat. I saw disappointment in his eyes. I had answered everything correctly. Mrs. Hayes, he said, I need to ask you some more personal questions. How have you been sleeping? Fine. Have you felt confused lately? No. Do you forget where you put things? Sometimes, like everyone. Have you had problems recognizing familiar places? No. Do you feel depressed? There was the trap. If I said yes, I had geriatric depression. If I said no, it was denial. Sometimes I miss my husband. He died 3 years ago. I'm very sorry. Would you say that sadness interferes with your daily life? No, it's normal sadness, grief. He wrote more things. Very well, Mrs. Hayes. I'm going to speak with your son. He went out. I heard them talking outside. I couldn't make out the words, but I could hear the tone. He came back with Darius and Simone. Mrs. Hayes presents cognitive function within normal parameters, the doctor said. There's no evidence of significant deterioration at this time. I saw Simone's face fall. But, she started. The doctor continued, looking at her. At her age, it's recommended to do periodic checkups every 6 months. Of course, Simone said, forcing a smile. Thank you, doctor. In the car, the silence was tense. See, Mama? Everything's fine, Darius said, but he sounded disappointed. I knew what had happened. The doctor couldn't give them the certificate they needed because I had answered everything correctly. But they weren't going to give up. This was just round 1, and I was ready for the next, because if they wanted war, I was going to give them a battle they would never forget. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But I wasn't seeking revenge, I was seeking justice. And justice, I learned, is served with precision. After the appointment with the doctor, something changed in the house. Simone was more tense, Darius quieter. And I kept acting. I watched them, studied them, like a scientist studies specimens. Simone became more audacious. She didn't even pretend as much anymore. One day I saw her coming out of my room with my jewelry box in her hands. Mama Marilyn, she said without flinching. I was looking at your jewelry. You have beautiful pieces you never wear. Why don't you sell them? You could make good money. They're memories, Simone. Memories are in the mind, not in things. She opened the jewelry box, took out a pearl necklace. This one, for example, when was the last time you wore it? Walter gave it to me for our 30th anniversary. Exactly. More than 15 years ago. Why keep it? She held it up to the light. It must be worth about $6,000. Money we could use. We could use? When did my things become our things? I don't want to sell it. Simone sighed like I was a stubborn child. As you wish, Mama. But that night, when I checked the jewelry box, the necklace wasn't there. I looked everywhere. It didn't appear. Simone, I called. Did you see my pearl necklace? Which necklace? The one you were showing me today. Oh, Mama, I didn't take anything. Are you sure you left it there? There it was. The seed of doubt. Are you sure? Like I was confused. Like my mind was failing me. Yes, I'm sure. Well, look for it carefully. Sometimes we put things away and then don't remember where. Darius came into the room. What's wrong? Your Mama says she lost a necklace. I didn't lose it. It disappeared. Mama, did you check well? Yes, Darius. I'm not senile. Nobody said you were senile, but the tone of his voice said exactly that. I turned around and left the room. I went up the stairs, and when I got to my room, I allowed myself for 1 second to feel the rage. But only 1 second, because rage clouds judgment, and I needed my judgment clearer than ever. I took out my secret phone, checked the cameras, went back to that afternoon. And there was Simone, going into my room, opening the jewelry box, taking the necklace, putting it in her purse. I recorded the video, sent it to the cloud, saved it in 3 different places. One more proof, one more piece of the puzzle. The following days were an escalation. Simone started forgetting to turn off the gas. Oh, sorry, Mama, what a head I have. But I knew it was intentional. She wanted to create incidents that proved I was dangerous to myself. One day I found my stove on, with nothing on it. I hadn't turned it on. Mama, Darius said, worried when he arrived and saw the gas on. You turned on the stove. No, I didn't. But it's on. I didn't do it. Then who? Dad's ghost? That mockery hurt more than everything else, because it came from my son. But I said nothing. I just went up to my room. I checked the cameras. Simone. It had been Simone. Early in the morning, when I was in the bathroom, she turned on the stove, waited, and when she heard me coming out of the bathroom, she left the kitchen. All calculated, all planned. That night I heard them again. It didn't work with the doctor, Simone was saying. We need another approach. What approach? Create situations where she seems dangerous. Incidents. The stove was good. We need more. I don't know, Simone. This is getting out of hand. Do you want to go back to Spain with nothing? Keep living off your mama's crumbs? A pause. Look, Darius, your mama has 66 years. She has what? 10 good years left, 15 at most. Are you going to wait all that time? Silence. Look, Simone continued. We're not hurting her. We're just accelerating the inevitable. She's going to age anyway. She's going to need help anyway. We're just moving up that process, for her good and ours. And there was the justification, the self-deception. My son, my own son, was allowing this woman to destroy me and was convincing himself it was for my good. The next day, I made a decision. It was time to set the trap. Thank you for listening all the way. Maybe the story ended, but there are still so many feelings to share. Leave a few words from your heart in the comments. Who knows? Maybe the next story begins with yours.